mode.
Hey everybody, it's Tom Foster here at Fosterwood Marketing. It's our monthly webinar. It's 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and we have an exciting one today. And actually, I think that this has been one of our most popular ones in a while. We've done very little marketing for it, but we have more attending than a long while. So it's a hot topic, and really we're going to let you know what other people are doing out there that are hurting you or could be hurting you, and what some things that you should be looking at. So I've got Danielle here with me, I've got Gina, I've got Zach, I've got Mike, I've got Elizabeth. That's our entire SEO team. Is Laura here? Laura's here, probably listening in. But really we're going to go over, spend the next 45 minutes or so talking about what the audits have shown us that we've been doing for the last few months for our lawyer clients and doctor clients about what's going on out there. Just a real quick thing to address Sharon Nelson's article, which I thought was quite good, and Sharon, you probably are on the call. Sharon and I have worked together, and Ben has worked with Sharon. We've done multiple interviews in the past. I think it's an engaging article that you should read. It's really just pointing out the fact that you need to be paying attention. If you're outsourcing your article writing to other people, you need to pay attention to what they're doing. If you're outsourcing your legal work to paralegals or nurses, consultants, don't you pay attention to what they do? And so really it's just pointing out exactly what we're going to point out in the next 45 minutes about what you need to be paying attention to as part of your business. You own your business, and your website is part of that. It's a very important piece of your marketing, and you better know what is going on with the people that you have hired to do a job for you. Are they helping you? Are they hurting you? Ultimately, your name is on the line. And if it's being outsourced and re-outsourced again, and it's, your content's being done in another country and you don't even know about it, you have no control. So we're going to show you some things that you can look at. So Danielle, let's get started.
Okay, so our agenda, these are some of the common mistakes we've seen in the last 4 months of audits, and Gina and Zach have done quite a few audits over the last few months, and there are some repeat sins, basically. And we're going to go over each of these, but basically it's maintaining one or more external blogs, over-optimizing your pages, excessive internal linking, not having any contextual links, failures with your local profiles, failing to maintain a consistent brand, low quality and deceptive content, letting others own your business or social profiles, and buying good, cheap, and fast links. Only one of those three, right? Or two of them. I think the first thing that has surprised many folks is that they're finding that their external blogs can hurt them. And I think this is mainly in the case where some people have put a lot of their marketing dollars into maintaining one or more other websites in addition to their main website, and that's really a large part of their strategy. And what does this mean? It means that you have a lot of links coming to your site from yourself over and over again with similar anchor text. So I know that you guys have seen this quite a bit, and this has been hurting some of the folks in the audits that you've done.
Yeah, and it's not that this used to be a strategy that worked, and creating several websites was a way to occupy all of page one. But this is an outdated practice, and we got rid of all our microsites, but we're finding a lot of WordPress blogs for clients, right, Gina?
Yeah, I've seen different situations where there's more than even one external blog. There might be 2 external blogs, and having 1 or 2 external blogs, the real problems are the links that are being sent back to your main site. Or say I've seen the blogs linking to each other and then your main site linking to the blogs, and really it's just creating an unnatural linking environment out there that search engines will pick up on and could cause negative impact to the site, and that's the real problem.
Yeah, I actually just had one client that I did an audit for, and I saw 2 external blogs and their main website, and every single one of the websites had around 6,000 external links, but they're all coming from each other. There was not a natural backlink profile, and they had actually had some issues with their visibility, and my recommendation was to bring all those websites under one umbrella, to spend the time to update and optimize an external blog along with your main website, and then another external blog is just going to take a lot of time out of what you're doing for your main website
Yeah.
and hurt you moving forward.
And what's interesting is that it's actually gotten a lot easier when you say, I mean, they've brought it all back. And so now you don't have to maintain 10, 15 different websites. You just need to maintain your one. And you don't even need to do it with as much as you used to. It just needs to be better. And so what Google has recognized, and this is true for anybody, it's not just focused on law firms, it's anybody out there. It hit us. We shut down all our all our blogs and all that kind of stuff unless we have them up there and they have their own identity for a reason. But this affects everybody. And so this is really, once again, Google stop gaming the system. It doesn't make sense for you to have 15 different versions of the same website out there. It just doesn't make sense. It's more that they have to index. It's just messy. And so Google's like, that. We made people do that because they're trying to trick our algorithm, and so they have they're making people stop doing that now. So it's better because now you really only have one website to be concerned about, right, guys?
And also just to touch on the branding aspect, a lot of the blogs contain the same brand and address and phone number as the main site. So that can be confusing across, for users and for search engines, where to go, what site should be ranking maybe before the other one, what maybe your business is actually doing if your blog is coming up before. So just keeping consistent brand on one site, a place to go, is really important, I think.
Because it's way more about keywords than it used to. I mean, back in the day, it was really just about keywords and how many times can we anchor text the keywords. But now so much, 30% or more are going to local search avenues, and that's why those citations with your phone numbers and your address needs to be consistent. And by having multiple websites with all that can mess that up, right? That's the other thing that we've seen.
Yeah, we've seen clients who they change their logo or they move offices or they change phone numbers and they either forgot the credentials for their other blogs or websites, so they have their main site, which is updated, but some of their other sites don't have the right logo, don't have the right address, don't have the right phone number, or they had another company create. We have one client who had, 36 websites created by other companies to try to capture all these different keywords. How do you think he's going to maintain 36 websites? That was ridiculous, so we're helping shut that down. But there's some really egregious examples of how you can pretty much ruin your branding and hurt yourself with all these different sites. And we talked a good bit about linking when we talked about these blogs, and there are a lot of ways that you can violate Google's guidelines as far as link schemes. And a couple that I know that we've seen are excessive link exchanges, where we've seen several different people, let's say lawyers or podiatrists, all linking together, link to me and I'll link to you. And if you do this excessively, again, that does not look natural, and it can eventually hurt you. And we've also seen a lot of large-scale article marketing and guest posting, again, with that keyword-rich anchor text over and over again, people trying to spread a lot of articles across the web. These are a couple of the ways that you can hurt yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you need to be natural. I mean, like, if it looks contrived or automated or weird in any way, and I know I've seen in this, you just read it yourself. If it seems automated, it's not. So Google is going to look at it that way too. They're that smart. And if you're going to comment on another person's blog, which is still relevant, and you should do that, make it real. But just don't, stuff it with anchor text and make it fake.
Don't do it for SEO.
Right.
Do it because you're adding value to the conversation. So over-optimized home pages. And I know that you've seen this quite a bit. This is a funny example because they must say personal injury lawyer about 50 times.
But people are still doing this.
They do. And you know what? This page will rank for what? One thing.
It also, as a user, is very annoying to go through, because I know that on our SEO team, we go through content like this all the time to remove this, and I can't imagine being a user coming in and having to read through it. There's really no value to it, and it can negatively impact your SEO as well.
Yeah, and this is all for ranking, and we all know that have been doing this for a long time that you're not going to get your perfect clients to that term anyway. And so let's say even by chance you are page 1 for that term, and somebody comes to this page as a result, are you going to get a conversion based on this? People are smart today. They're not like, wow, you have a website. Amazing. You're a really high-tech lawyer. The web has been around for a while, okay? So consumers know what to expect. And so even if they do a search for that, they're going to do a search for your name afterwards and everything that we always talk about. So stop doing this. I can't believe people are still doing this.
Well, and this
although we found an old page, didn't we? We found an old page in our own site that was over-optimized. And so here's the thing, is that, listen, we're not like saying everybody, we have done all this ourselves as a company because this is what worked, okay? But I also planted a lot of plants in my garden that I had to move around or take out because they were overgrown and I didn't want them there anymore. That doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It just means that you have to change. You have to weed your garden. You have to, plant new seeds, put in new plants. It's just a natural thing. All right.
I was also just going to point out that the search engines are a lot smarter with this, and you might see certain vanity keywords drop out of visibility completely. I would go back and check your content to make sure that the only reason you were ranking for those vanity keywords is because you had them hundreds of times across the site or 15, 20 times on one page. That's going to end up hurting you in the future, and it already has for a lot of people.
Yeah, we see this all the time. So if you have this page as your home page, and then you have all your external blogs and everything else linking with Personal Injury Lawyer or Personal Injury Lawyer Dallas, all linking to your home page, you're probably already gone. And, change the city, change the state, but that's what's killing over-optimized websites. Big players that used to get all of this stuff are gone.
The other thing to keep in mind is make sure you're looking at your page title, your meta description, your meta keywords. This is where, especially if you've had someone write content for you or do SEO for you, they may have gone a little nuts. These aren't things you will see on the screen, but that are important. Remember, your page title and your meta description are what show up in the search results, and that's the first thing that somebody is going to see when they're trying to decide what link to click on, and if it looks spammy or it's not very informative, what's the point? The keywords, these aren't used for rankings and can just be a sign that you're being spammy when you have this many keywords in your meta keywords tag.
Google does not need the help that it once did for keywords. That's what you really have to recognize. It does not need all of that.
Bing has actually said that they use the meta keywords tag to determine if you're being spammy. They don't use it for rankings, but they use it to determine if you're being bad. So go ahead, hurt yourself with meta keywords. Over-optimized landing pages. So I think we've seen this quite a bit. This is similar to the home page. You want to make sure you're not diluting your message by stuffing everything you possibly can on one page. You only want to have relevant practice areas and relevant locations, relevant information overall. And then you really want to read your copy out loud or ask a friend to read it for you and see if it sounds natural and appeals to the human beings. Stop writing for search engines and write for people.
I love that little commercial.
Oh, Christine, I like that.
It's true. I mean, it's like, do you have all your furniture, your bed, and all your toiletries in the foyer of your house as soon as somebody walks in? Say, look, here's all my stuff. Aren't I great? No. And that's exactly the way that you should look at your website is, really your homepage is really just an introduction to what you do, and you don't want to make it everything. You want, and Google wants, you to have several different landing pages, your practice areas. Each page should be focusing on a different theme or a different subject, not over-optimized. Make it make sense. And don't remember, every additional practice area that you add to your website, you need to fuel and feed that practice area. So if it's not something that you want a lot of cases for, don't put it on there because it's just diluting everything else.
One thing that I do see a lot as well is trying to put every single location you serve on every single practice area page and homepage. It's okay to call that out once, maybe twice across the website, say, look, these are the areas we serve, but just because you're putting every county in the state of Florida on every practice area page doesn't make you more relevant for those areas. It almost makes you less relevant for the area you actually would show up for. So taking those locations and making specific blog pieces, articles, news items, about those locations and what's going on there specifically, as opposed to trying to be really broad and talk about car accidents in every single county in Florida on one page. There's no way you can show up for search results because you're just not relevant enough, and it doesn't narrow it down to a specific area.
Yeah, and always, don't forget, always, always that you are not living in a vacuum and you're not doing this, and just because you made a change, that does not mean that no one else stood still while you made a change. I mean, you are competing with all the other lawyers out there that are going through the same issues you are, and they're trying new things too. Okay, let's keep going. Thank you.
Committing internal linking sins. Your practice areas are your main navigation pages, and you do not need to link to every practice area multiple times in the content on every page. I think we've seen this a good bit where people think that if I link to my one practice area 10 times from this article, that's a really good, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. We also see it on the site itself, on lawyer sites where they have every practice area repeated again below the main navigation and linked again to the practice area page.
Yeah, it's just overabundance of links, and back in the day where the 3-column web design was the holy grail of SEO and design because we could get as many links on there as we could. We all remember those days. Well, some of us do. But those days are gone once again because remember the complaints of those days. It was really hard to read, right? Well, okay, I'm ranking, but man, it's really hard. We would get that other complaint. Well, you got to be ranking, so you got to do these kinds of things. Well, Google woke up to that and said, yeah, people aren't really, people aren't really, the usability is in question. And so they got smarter. We don't need to do that anymore. You don't need to do that anymore. So it's really reduction of linking or internal links. And so how many links really should you have coming off a particular page? Aren't there some rules to that? Some fuzzy rules?
I like to stick by always add value, and not so much as a number, but if you want to put a number attached to it for a single page, I would say maybe 3 within the content, 4 within a content.
Wow.
Not more than that, really, because I don't see where you would have within the content contextual links. So this is besides the header and the footer and the navigation and everything. But within your content, unless you're talking about a large amount of topics, I don't really see a need for more than that, and it'll just appear to be spammy and won't have any real value anyway.
And they should be going to different things and have different anchor text.
That's another really good point. So something else we see a lot is the same page within a site being linked multiple times on a single page. I've even seen the home page being linked on the home page like twice or 3 times. There's no need for that at all. And the same with you want to have different contextual links as well. So even if you're linking to different page, you, again, don't want to be linking over the same, like our personal injury lawyers going to multiple bio pages. You want it to be different.
You want it to, the link should say where it's going to, and you want it to not be the same thing over and over again for SEO purposes. And this is the point, are you adding links for SEO or to help guide the user to your website? That's really it. That is the point of putting links on a web page, is to help guide your user like you're giving them a tour of your website. And that's why we have related links and stuff like that, because that's a great bounce rate killer, is putting related links. Bounce rate killer is not personal injury anchor text going to your personal injury page. It's, like find out more about texting and driving statistics in the state of Dallas or in Dallas, click here or whatever, and then that takes them to that statistics page, end of bounce. So you just need to think logically and think your user and how you answer their questions.
I think another thing to look at is when you're adding content to DSS, look at the page after you've created the page, because what you see in DSS is just the contacts. You're not seeing the whole entire web page. And a lot of times I see people saying, here, look to these additional links, or look to these pages, or here are some frequently asked questions. And then right below it is a bucket with all the same exact FAQs, blog posts, articles. Don't add them just to add them. Make sure it adds value to the page. That's the most important thing.
And then contextual links, I wanted to give an example here. So here we have a sample article on motorcycle accidents and skull fractures, and you can link linear fracture. Let's say somebody was told by the doctor that's what they have, and they say, oh, I want to know more about that. Mm-hmm. You can add an FAQ. What is a linear skull fracture? Here we've got a nice image and some text, but you would link the word linear fracture to your FAQ about linear fractures. That's a contextual link. It's putting things in context, and that just makes your article stronger, and it gives the person visiting your site, they can dig a little deeper into the subject. Now they've learned general information about soul fractures, I can find out more about the ones I care about.
And this is gold. This is gold, gold, gold right here. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Every one of those items, those 5 points, should link out to another article explaining it. And I just got off the phone with one of our biggest clients who landed a big, giant case because of this exact method. Because someone had found it was a blog post where they did a link out providing information about a company, and this is how this particular client found the law firm, was through that. And it wasn't through the vanity keyword. It was through the name of the company that he was injured by and what he did. And he went and researched and went all over his website and learned all about and hired them as a result of having so much informative information that made sense on their website. Okay? Now, of course, we control almost every aspect of that website. So, and we've undone a lot of the mistakes that were made in the past. So they're pretty much flying on this way. This way works, guys. So get on this as soon as possible. Get rid of these vanity links and make those contextual links make sense. This works.
And we just had a little more about the contextual links. Again, just making the connections between your pages, making your pages relevant, reducing your bounce rate. So we pretty much covered this.
Yeah, we covered it.
Local profiles. I know you.
This is huge.
Yep.
And a lot of you guys don't get it still. And, I mean, like, this can make or break your whole business. Google's pushing big time on local so much that it's giving a third of its real estate to local. So if anybody puts in in their search criteria, you know, a location, then Google's going to automatically pump out local first, right, guys?
Coming more and more.
Yes, and so we were, when they first started doing this, we were like, and what happens is that it's decreasing the traffic, the visitor traffic and analytics to your website that you're looking at. So you're like thinking, well, I'm not getting as much traffic. That might not be true, because a third of that traffic could be going to your Google local profile, which you can't see in analytics where that traffic is going to. You have to look at that to your Google local profile. So don't ignore this. This is a huge place where people are getting business. Right, Gina?
Yes, it is. And a lot of the profiles that we're looking at, especially in these audits, some are really well done, and then other ones are completely missing the website, which is huge, or they have an incorrect business name or incorrect phone number and address, and all of those inconsistencies will add up and create confusion and also just weaken the profile itself, which won't be coming up as often.
And what's interesting about this local stuff is, and a lot of you remember when we first started doing this, you just kind of had to do it as something new that you had to do. Who knew that it was going to be so important to your business? When we first started setting up social media and Google+, and of course they change every day what needs to happen. Hey, we're just telling you the information. We don't make the rules for Google. Our job is to understand it. And I didn't get a memo from Google. Did you get a memo from Google, Gina? Zach, do you get a memo?
Probably went to my spam box.
Right. We don't get memos from Google. We have to do this research, test it, figure it out ourselves. But this is critical stuff that people are getting hurt by, especially because they're hiring companies that don't know what they're doing with the Google local profiles, and it's really hurting them.
Another thing, and I'm not sure if it's included later, is having multiple profiles. So having, you know, for the same location, multiple profiles out there. I've seen a lot. Some companies will create them. I'm not really sure the reasoning behind it. It's probably some outdated idea. But just having one profile per location is really important as well.
Yep. Okay.
And here's some examples. There's a local profile of our friend Ben Glass. He has a lot of information filled out on Google+, and another attorney from the same listing. This was the same search terms. You see they have less information. They don't have an image up in their map. They don't have the times, hours that they're open. They don't have any reviews. You can see one is a lot richer with information. One is very plain. So when your competitors are putting a lot more up there, it's may draw people to click on them because they look more. It provides just so much more information to the user.
And of course, Zach, Ben is all sneaky with this truth about lawyer advertising right there on his profile. But any of you that are using that book or licensing that book should do that too. it just, wow, that's interesting. I want to know about all these other guys. So it brings them off track. Go ahead, son.
I was just going to say, this is also a conversion tool. You think about the website and how we talk about converting people once they get to the website. The local profile is a way to convert people. If you went to Ben Glass's profile and saw this information, saw these great reviews, you're probably going to pick up the phone, call him, and ask him for more information about what he can do for you. The other listing, there's almost nothing there. I'm not going to pick up the phone and call this person. You might not see the traffic to your website, and you might not get a call recorded because they're using your local profile number, but you're getting that business, and that's the end goal. Convert people who are going to see your brand and see your website and see your profiles.
And you know, once again, the rule is ask them how they found out about you. If they called you and they're looking at your website, it's because of your website. It's not because they magically found your phone number from the ether. So one of my biggest favorite things is that big reviews right there, 5.0. We all are suspect of what goes on the web. It's easy to manipulate information on the web, and so these citations and reviews are critically important to convert someone to Ben Glass over this other cat, over Sorrel.
And this leads us right into a review strategy. If you don't have a review strategy, you don't know what people are saying about you, you're probably not paying attention, and you're not capitalizing on all of these sites that offer reviews. So here's an example. Michael Hupy's Avo profile shows, again, a 5-star, and this is showing up in the search results. So people are seeing this without having to click through to your site. It's just a way for them at a glance to see, oh, look, people rated him highly, and it's just one of those little things that sticks with them. And people trust what others have to say. They may not trust what you say on your website, because of course you're going to say good things about yourself, but once they go off-site and start reading about you, you want to make sure that you have a review strategy in place and make it part of your client closeout process. So you've serviced a client, you've made them happy, now let's encourage them to leave you feedback online.
Very good.
Inconsistent branding. I know that you've seen this quite a bit.
I have, yep. Inconsistent branding is a huge problem that I've seen a lot with some of our clients that might be working with other agencies or other marketing directors out there. Not having consistent brand name and not having consistent address, phone number, even such things as logo across your website and profiles and social media is huge. It can create confusion for humans and search engines. It makes you look like you're not really sure what you're doing, and also if you have a consistent brand image, people will remember you more easily, which I really believe. Like cola, like Pepsi Cola. You know exactly what their branding is. So keeping that consistent is really important across everything.
Yeah, and you know, we have a short attention span, and if you ever notice, well, it happens to me all the time, but you're like, oh, I got to go get that, and you go into the room, and there's something in the room that's different. You're like, wait, what was I coming in here for? And so, especially when on the internet, if they've done some search and they're interested in you, and they start to do searches for your firm or your name, and then you have inconsistent logos or inconsistent naming conventions for you, or your colors are different, or whatever, it's all different across, they're going to get confused and distracted, and you're going to lose them. And so consistency is key to that.
I think we see a big one with firm names especially. Oh, I'm the law offices of Umpty Frats. Oh, no, this is Umpty Frats PC. They play around, pick a name and stick with it, and then clean up all the other versions online that you've used in the past. You really do need to pick one and go with it.
And if you're a solo practitioner, it really should be your name. I mean, you know, the law offices of Ben Glass, whatever, but Ben Glass is what people search for. They don't search for the law offices of. Understand that says that you're a lawyer, but most important is Ben Glass. And he might have one thing that says the law offices of Ben Glass, but he's Ben Glass Law. That's kind of his brand. You can have your official corporate or LLC or PLLC, you know, what you pay taxes on title, but then you can have your own brand. Like we're Foster Consulting operating as Foster Web Marketing, and that's the brand that we tie everything around as Foster Web Marketing. And Tom Foster, and then other people that we have in the organization. And you have to be conscious of that too, the other lawyers that are in your organization, branding them as well. Because people buy from people, and especially when it comes to law and doctors and professional services, people buy from people they trust. And so if you've done work for somebody in the past, or one of your lawyers has done work for somebody in the past, they're not going to say the law offices of whatever. They're going to say the guy's name or your name. And then someone's going to search for their name. So you be aware of that. Don't be afraid to promote your attorneys. There's some controls there because we've seen some abuse, and we could certainly talk to you about how to do that, some best practices that we've seen. But don't be afraid to do that. That will help you bring in business. Good.
All right. Low quality and deceptive content. This is one that I think drives us all nuts. We have a lot of clients who outsource their content, and I know that is a controversial subject in some circles. And some of the things that we have seen done by other companies, this is a good example. One attorney was referred to as an expert legal practitioner, and we always avoid using the word expert in our copy for obvious reasons. But this company obviously does not work with lawyers very much, I'm guessing, and they use this in a site, and they had to get that article taken down. Another example, if you look at the second bullet point, this is actual text from an article that was written for a client, and you can see it's poor English and 2 links back to the home page right there in that one sentence.
And just to add in, out of the whole article, this particular one, the client wasn't mentioned at all throughout the whole article, nor was their practice area or the area that they work in. So this is content that's just being created mindlessly, not specific for the client, and this is the only time it is referencing them, and it's in very poor optimization efforts.
On a very low quality website as well.
These are real things that we have discovered, guys.
We've seen fake addresses. They've completely made up addresses for locations that they're targeting, but they use the firm's real phone number. This can create some real issues for you.
Yes, it can, and it's also, I looked up an address that I found in one article. It was the middle of a highway. It wasn't even close to being where the firm was located, and the phone number, again, yeah, it was mixed in with that. So that'll tie into your other profiles. If you're mixing your actual phone number with your real address, but then have fake addresses out there, it's a lot of confusion created.
We've also seen a number of cases where the firm's name is spelled incorrectly across multiple sites and multiple articles. And we've also seen other companies use some sites to generate content just to spread similar content and links all across the web. Again, their goal is to get a lot of links for a low cost. And they're using some techniques that will actually hurt you. And here's an example. Gina actually ran this test of a company that's just been reusing content over and over.
So I came across an article that was created, and it really didn't tie in again to the client or their area that they were serving or their practice area. So just did a quick Google search in quotations there, and as you can see, it's coming up multiple times for more than just our client. It's tying in other things. Duplicate content's being created.
Articlesnatch.com.
Yes, and that was another reason I looked into it. It didn't sound like it was in very good quality.
I mean, you just need to use some common sense with a lot of this stuff, guys. So, I mean, and this still happens. I mean,
these are recent examples. This is not from 5 years ago.
Right. I mean, this is still going on, and this is what Google is trying to police. And you might be a victim of this police work. So don't make it easy for them to.
And it's also worth mentioning that a lot of these companies produce very large or very flashy-looking reports they will send you each month, and you'll think, oh, hey, things look good. Look at all this stuff they're doing for me. But we found these examples by digging down into some of these reports. We were forwarded by clients who said, hey, can you check out what this company's doing? So we have the reports and we have the examples, and they look great. If you didn't know any better, you'd think, wow, I'm really getting value for my money. But then we dig in and find examples like this. And it's not just a few things here or there. This is rampant.
They're just lying.
This is one of my favorite ones from a marketing company that was asked, why do you have fake addresses using the law firm's phone number?
Wait, but this is a big, giant company.
It's a big company.
A big company.
And their response to us, and this is a sentence taken out of their response, but their whole response kind of fell along these lines, that content is created for search engines. It's not created for the user. That's a very common SEO tactic that everyone uses, which is just completely false. And I know that the clients that we're working with might not be as well adversed in this topic as we are. So to us, they're just blatantly lying to our face. But we actually went to, do you have the Google quote? specifically?
Yes,
Yeah, so we actually, instead of just listening to our advice, I just went to Google's guidelines directly and pulled up where they specifically say make pages primarily for users, not for search engines. It's their #1 quality guideline. So saying that's a common SEO practice is just a lie. Something to look out for if you are going to be using other companies.
And, well, I mean, it is a common SEO practice for a lot of SEO consultants. And I even talk to them, and they're like, well, that's the only way you can do it. Google says it, but you have to do it in order to make it work. And, you know, it's easy to kind of believe that, but you could say, well, the money's in the bank, so let me just go rob the bank, because that's where it is instead of work for it. And so don't think like that. Don't listen to people that advise you on that. Ultimately, Google continues to get better and better at ferreting out the cheaters with their Panda and their Penguin updates and whatever else is coming down the pike. And you just want to stick with a consultant no matter what you're doing. Marketing, web, whoever you're working with, stick with people that you can trust and they're not going to lead you down the wrong path. It's going to hurt you in the long run. Because this company that did this work for this client that we're trying to fix, they're not even taking responsibility for it. And it's costing the client to clean this up. So they already paid for it to be done the wrong way and did not pay attention to it. And now they're paying to have it cleaned up, if it can be even cleaned up. It's so bad.
Yeah, so make sure you're aware of, you know, if you're doing work online, you should be aware of Google's guidelines. We have another link to the quality guidelines here. And again, they make the point, does this help my users? Would I do this if search engines didn't exist? Ask yourself that when you're considering a tactic or when you're working with a company and you're looking at their work. Would you do this to help a user, or are you just doing it to game the system?
Be real. Be real.
And this is an interesting one. Who created your business listings? We find a lot of people these days are outsourcing a lot of local work to other companies. So they're having these other companies set up and claim business listings for their firm. However, what we see is that just like with your domain name, you know, sometimes if you contract with a web provider, they will buy your domain name and they will own your domain name. And you don't realize until you try to leave, and they may not give up that name. The same thing can happen with your business profiles is, let's say your Google local business page can be set up. You need to have a user account to set that up, and the company may use their own user account to set up your business page, and then it's quite a pain to get it transferred. We have this issue with one client. I know Gina's been working on that.
Yep, and a lot of companies can make it a little bit confusing because they will give you management access or administrative access. So you're able to go in and update the listing so you think you have control of it, but in reality, unless there's one owner per account, there can be multiple managers for things such as Google Plus Local, Google Business pages, but you want to be the owner of that page, not just an administrator, because in the future you can be removed as an administrator and have no access to it whatsoever.
Yep. The bottom line is do not let these other companies open up accounts in their name. They should be opening it under your name.
Yeah, you need to manage your account. You can have other people maintain it and help you with it, but the accounts belong to you.
And it's not a hard process for them to release the account so you can then claim it. So don't let them push you around and say that it's impossible for you to claim your own listing because they have it claimed. They can easily release the listing for you to then claim it. So just make sure they're not throwing out words that you don't understand to make it so that you aren't able to claim your own listing.
An example of that would be I was talking directly with a client's other agency they were using that was doing this, and they said they couldn't do it because it would compromise the value of certain passwords, the client's password to their email and whatnot, and that's not true at all. You don't need to have the password for another email or another account to transfer over ownership or something like Google Business. So just make sure if they are telling you things like that, that maybe you contact one of us to jump in.
Yeah, we can help you. I mean, like, we'll help you set up your own accounts so you have access to them, and we just work through that. Anyway.
Yeah, and the last example we had here is this is a company we've gotten complaints about. They've used Yext, and Yext is a great product. We are a reseller, but if a company sets up Yext in your name, it can lock the accounts that Yext has updated, and you can't go in outside of Yext and update the account. So unless the company releases that to you or gives you the password, you now can't update your profiles because they've got a hold on it. Now, when we set up Yext accounts, we'll give you a username and a password so you have access to it, but this is another way that some companies keep you from being able to access your own profile information.
Danielle, real quick, what is Yext? Because I'm sure people don't know what that is.
Yext is go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to say, it's a tool that is used to push out consistent information across the web. You fill out one profile, and then it will go out through, I think, 45, 50 local citation websites. And the nice thing about it is you fill out one profile, and it's pushing out all that information consistently. You don't have to go to every single local citation website out there and try to claim, update, confirm. It's just a real headache to try to go out to each individual one. So Yext makes it easy, along with other companies like Localese, to make it easier to push out all that information really consistently, like we were talking about with the brand name and the phone number and the address.
Yeah, and we can help you do that. We have a relationship with Yext. Yeah, we're a reseller of that, and our team can help you with your local issues if you have problems.
The same, everything we just said for the business listings also goes for the social media profiles, and you may find if you have just contracted with another company to help you with social media, they may set up, again, your social media accounts, your Facebook, your Twitter, your YouTube, your Google Plus personal. They may set up these things for you, and guess what? They're doing it with their own username and passwords. And again, it is possible for you to eventually get control of this. It's just a pain, and it's time that you probably, if you don't have time to do your social media on your own in the first place, you probably don't have time to clean up the mess after now that you have to transfer all the accounts and retake ownership of these things that are in your name. Your business's name is on these things. So this is one thing you want to be very mindful of. You want to ask up front, or if you're using somebody right now, find out if they own your accounts or have all the passwords, and make sure that it's actually they get put into your name just to protect yourself. And then the last thing we've seen is we have seen, a lot of agencies will work with multiple clients, and we've seen cases where they're using your social media accounts to post content to their other clients, or they're posting links to you from their client site. So they're just basically, it's another kind of link wheel, just social media linking back and forth. Again, because it's easy for them to do. So that's not something you want to see done. It doesn't give you any value.
And make sure that, just real quick on social media, that you have someone that is, social media is all about headlines. Social media is all about getting someone to come to your website or to come somewhere else as a result. It's not about liking your page. That's just, that's not, if that's what the effort is for a social media person, is get likes to your page, that's not what it is. You don't want to, it's not about number of likes. It's about the conversion of people that you're getting from your social media. It's about the engagement.
Yeah, it's the same thing with traffic. You can pay somebody to get you a ton of traffic to your website, but what does that mean if nobody ever contacts you?
Right.
Here's another example. This is another report that was sent to a client, and you can say they have a really nice pitch on their website. Their links are powerful, they're relevant, they're quality, they're carefully placed in strategic positions across the internet for maximum effectiveness. Their website looks great, it sounds good. One of our clients signed up for their services. They sent us the report and said, hey, can you check out their work? And we said, okay. So here's the report. You can see it looks nice. It gives you the page where you got the link, where it's going on your site. And it gives you a link value, and you can see, wow, look at all those 9s and 8s and a 10, and they're social links. That looks fantastic, doesn't it? I might say, hey, that was money well spent, and go on with my day. However, when you actually look at those pages where you got that link, or where that company got the link for you, here are 2 examples, and this whole report is full of them. The first one, this is a value of 9, so it sounds pretty good. This is on a Google Plus page. It's a fake profile. This person doesn't actually exist. The profile is full of shares from timeshare companies, medications from Mexico. That's all they're sharing is clients that they're working for. So that's not getting you any value. Plus, it's a social media link. It's no follow. So
yeah, so you're not getting any link value from that because it's Google Plus and it's no follow, which is fine because then you would say, oh, I'm getting referral traffic from that link. But this person is a quote-unquote located in India, actually has only 2 people in their circle. So unless those 2 people are just your perfect client, 100%, you're not going to get any traffic from this. And it's also not getting you link benefit. This literally means nothing to your website. This doesn't give you anything.
And to the point of, Sharon's article, this is exactly the kind of stuff that she was kind of pointing out, this is not real. This is contrived. This is not the lawyer. This is some fake person. And so this is where we run into ethical issues when it comes to lawyers. Lawyers are supposed to be upholding the truth. And so when you participate in unethical and cheating behavior, you are not upholding the truth. So make sure that the people that you are hiring are working for you.
Yeah, and the other one is, again, the report says it's a link value of 7. So we've got this high value 9, high value 7. This other one is a user profile that was set up on manta.com. There's no activity. The person is not connected to anyone else. You can see hasn't participated in any discussion, isn't following anyone, nobody's following them. They didn't do anything. All this company did was set up a quick and easy profile. It's a pretty spammy looking profile too. And the best part is that there's an ad for Ben Glass showing up on this lawyer's profile on Manta. I just thought that was a nice extra bonus. And this is a value 7 link, so you can imagine how wonderful all the rest of these links are. So, and buyer beware is basically our message here. You know, if you are paying somebody for services, you need to keep an eye on it. It is your business's name on the line. If everything goes south, that company's not going to be there to help you clean things up. You're going to be on your own. So make sure you know from whom you're buying services. Questions, Mike? I think we have a few questions today.
We do. One question we have is from Jonathan Cooper. Jonathan, good to hear that you're on the call. And he says, while I understand that having one main site that can create a branding problem that transcends SEO, especially if it would have distinct areas of practice. It can make you look like a generalist instead of a specialist, which can hurt us. So what do you propose as a solution?
Well, that I can definitely understand where you're coming from, Jonathan. There's a lot to think about there. One thing you want to make sure is if you really think that you have an area of specialty that denotes having its own website, do not make sure that website is not linking back to your other website over and over again. That's going to create an unnatural link profile. It's also going to hurt with your branding, but it kind of depends on a case-by-case basis. I would always recommend having one website. You can point out different areas of your specialties by having different practice areas. I just wouldn't go about creating a new website for every niche that you have to be more specialized in that particular area.
Okay, so yes to what Zach said, but really it's more of a business question than an SEO question. If you are practicing like a generalist, you are a generalist. If you're doing 50 different things, that's exactly what you're doing. So it's your business that you need to look at, not your website. And so, and if in fact you are doing 50 things, then they should go on your one website, and then you have to support them. That's just a fact. Just like, okay, I have a business decision as the owner of Foster Web Marketing. If I want to go do websites for doctors, or if I want to go out and do print, or if I want to do all that stuff, I'm not going to go create a different website for that. Well, I did for the doctors. Why? Because I don't want them to, because lawyer speak is different than doctor speak. But you're a lawyer, you're doing kind of one thing for people, right? Or you're providing consulting services. If you're doing it for a variety of different kinds of things, and you're branding yourself as that guy to do that, you've just got to feed each one of them.
Yeah, it really is a branding question. Can you sell yourself as somebody who knows so much about all these different areas of law? That's what you have to be able to do, because like Tom said, you are a generalist if that's what you're doing, and you have to market to that. Make that your strength, perhaps.
And a lot of companies have productized themselves. Microsoft was one of them that did that. And Apple was a company that chose to, when Jobs came back, and it's not a dig at Danielle, when Jobs...
Did you do stop movie?
No. I just know this because I read things. And so when Jobs came back, right, he like cut SKUs left and right at Apple because he was like, we can't market all this stuff. And at some point, I think when he first came back, they only had 20 products that they were actually marketing. And so less is more. Even though like, oh, it would be great to have such and such a case every now and then, That's an every now and then that you have to invest in, so you just need to make that business decision.
The same thing when people come to us, hey, I have a server company, will you do a website for me? No, we will not do a website for you. We actually turn business down because we know what we do and we do it well.
Right.
When you try to branch out, we have found that it just sucks up more time and energy because you don't know that particular niche as well. So if you could focus, really focus your time and your energy. And again, that goes back to a business question. It really, we don't take it as an SEO question.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes sense business-wise, then you can create the SEO and the attraction to support it.
And you did say the doctors section, that's a subdomain. That's not an entirely different website. So that's something we did to bring it under one umbrella, and it's speaking to something completely different than lawyers, so that makes sense. But don't want to have a bunch of different websites supporting things that you do every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so if you just take web marketing and the things that have to do with web marketing, you know, like we're not a big pay-per-click company. We don't go out there and go nuts for pay-per-click. So we don't support it, and I think we look at those things like practice areas for lawyers. All right, Mike, next.
Michael Strong asks if he should delete his footers that have all the same call to action with their service locations by city or county name and just put in contact info instead.
Depending upon what they look, if they're all the same and they all have the same city listing over and over again, yes, you should delete your footer, Michael. Or you should delete the cities in the footer, maybe not necessarily the whole footer.
Michael also asks, I have a lot of unnatural links that were not set up with any intentional SEO process. There are just a few random links on one certain practice area. How do I spread the links among more relevant link sources?
That is, we'd have to look at that. I mean, like, you'd have to see that. And it's, yeah.
Michael, what we can do, if you go to fwmwebaudit.com and fill out the contact form, we can do a web audit for you and take an in-depth analysis at what's going on your site.
So bring up the next screen, Mike, because we have a bunch of links to all these things, right? We have it on there? All right, so that fwmwebaudit.com, if any of you would like us to do a SEO audit on your site, we can do that. Just go there and fill out the form. We're offering these at no cost right now, but we're going to be charging for this in the near future. So get there quick. We can tell you a lot of these things specific to you. Mike, what is the next question? I'm going to talk about the rest of the stuff up here.
If a lawyer lays out specific directions on how to write articles that fall within the VSB's guidelines and approves of the post beforehand, are there any ethical issues with someone else writing a lawyer blog?
Well, I am not a lawyer, so I cannot speak to ethics.
I also think it depends where the blog is being held. If it's an internal blog to your site and you're corresponding with a writer that you're working with and having them write something that's relevant for you and you have impact on, I think that's perfectly fine.
And I think that, you know, it just depends upon, well, first of all, if you have somebody writing for your site, or writing for you at all, in any capacity whatsoever, whether it's on your website or your marketing material or your checks. You need to make sure that you know what they're doing. We spend a lot of time with our clients making sure that we have their voice. For instance, I just got off the call with that. You know, how are we doing on content? Are we getting your voice down? It's much better, very good. They're very pleased with that. That doesn't always happen right off the bat. It took a long time for some content writers to get my voice down. And so you just need to pay attention to what people are writing about you and fix it as it comes along. Don't rehearse difficulties. Putting a disclaimer on your website that, you know, it could be written by other people, I don't know if that becomes a rule, you know, that becomes a rule. If that becomes a rule, it's only because you lawyers did it to yourself. So just don't, you know, make sure that your content is good and don't do bad content. Pay attention to what you're doing. Is that it?
No.
The questions?
We have a couple more. What should be included in a good, well-optimized, user-friendly article? This question has appeared a couple of times.
That is a very broad question. That depends upon what you're talking about.
I think that depends upon the area that you practice in, the area that you're located in, and something that would be newsworthy that people would want to be reading about, and then tying it back into your area of specialty. It's very, very broad, but...
Yeah, but that's a good answer. I mean, like, and, you know, we can give an anatomy, and that's part of what we do when we give an audit is, like, what an optimized web page should look like. But there's several different kinds of content, and if you want to know specifics about how to do this stuff, we're going to be going over it at the summit. So you can, if you haven't already registered, you can go to the GLM Summit, which is nationalglmsummit.com. Come out. We're doing like boot camps out there. We're going to be doing some roundtables out there where we're going to be sitting down, rolling up our sleeves, and teaching people how to do this stuff. So if you're very interested, if you really want to know how to do this stuff yourself, or you want to send your staff, send them out, because that's exactly what we're going to be doing next month, September 2021-22 in Arlington. And if you want to know more information about it, go right here, National GLM Summit. We have our boot camp, which is on the 22nd, which is all day with Foster Web marketing people, everybody that's sitting here with me. We're going to be working on websites. So it's going to be me in there, Danielle, Zach, Gina, Connie, Karen, Mariana for social media, Laura, everybody's going to be there. So if you want to know how to do this, man, now is the time. Yeah, there's another question.
This comes from a listener who says, I have 2 old websites, and because my firm's name is hard to spell, we created a brand new name URL that is now our main site. The 2 old sites redirect to the new. Our backlink profile for the new site is filled with 301 redirects from the old sites. Is that kind of backlink profile okay in Google's eyes? This seems like a common scenario, so I'd like to ask, how do most firms handle having a new URL while keeping the old ones?
As long as the old URLs had a strong backlink profile that had a high trust value and those links were relevant and made sense coming to the site, and your old URLs weren't being dinged or didn't have any sort of penalty from Google, having a 301 redirect on them and just transferring over that sort of credibility to your new site is not a bad thing at all.
No, that's a common practice, and we do a lot of 301 redirects when we bring clients over. Look, there's very few versions on the internet anymore that have, you know, brand new websites. So a lot of people have transferred web hosting companies, as most of you probably have on the call. And so, you know, redirecting and doing 301s is a big part of what we do as a maintenance business. We evaluate when we bring in clients over from somewhere else. That's where we do our audit, so we can evaluate what are good links to bring over, or what links should we just kill. You know, what pages should we kill? And because everyone's got viruses and all kinds of stuff attached to them over the years that have been out there. Right, wrong, or indifferent, whether you meant to do it or not, they're out there. We've got them too, and it's just like weeding. You didn't plant weeds in your garden, but they got there. You still got to clean them up. Who are you going to blame? It's not about blaming. It's just about getting busy and doing the work.
Yeah, 301 redirect is a standard way to move a website. That's not a big deal. What you want to make sure that you're doing is building up the new domain name, making sure all of your business listings, your social profiles, everything refers to the new domain name, and start building good quality links to the new domain name. Don't worry about the fact that you shut down 2 other sites and 301 them. That's normal.
Yeah.
All right. What is your philosophy about the brand being aging partners with younger partners coming up into the firm? Can you safely promote a general name brand and then send it to a main page? Example, Chicagoland Personal Injury Law Firm points to specific law practices of Smith, Wallace, and Jones.
Was there a couple different questions in there? Was the first question, how do you combine old and new?
No, if you have a firm that has older partners and newer partners, and you don't have a domain name looks like.
I'm not even sure I understand the question properly.
You're using a generic name to brand the firm instead of the named partners, so to speak.
Correct.
I mean, if that's adding newer partners.
If that's your brand, pick a brand and stand behind it.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, but make sure you can stand behind it long term, because it's a big deal to change your name down the road.
Well, and if the brand is the older lawyers, if that's the question, you should maintain that brand as long as possible. I mean, you know, Microsoft doesn't change its name because Bill Gates is not the president anymore, you know. I mean, the brand is the brand. And although obviously it's not Bill Gates Incorporated, he's still associated with Microsoft, just like more, you know, reverent attorneys that have been around for a while and are well known will still be associated with the firm, whether or not that they're there or not. Just like Johnny Cochran. I mean, you know, he's gone, but it's still his brand. And people still think that they're going to go meet with Johnny Cochran when they go there, interestingly enough. So I don't know if that answered the question, but really, I mean, to Danielle's point, you need to focus on what your brand is and stick with it. Don't be willy-nilly about your brand.
If I'm understanding the question correctly, you have an old or your current brand name, and then you're adding younger attorneys maybe to the practice. So just from the start, make sure you're branding them as being part of the firm. And even though their last name might not be part of the branded name, if their whole online profile is built up kind of from the bottom up using that the attorney, the firm branded name, there won't be an issue.
Yeah, like, you know, Tom Foster of Fosterwood Marketing or Danielle Ruderman of Fosterwood Marketing. You know, as long as you're consistent with that brand, even if somebody's going to do a search for that individual attorney, they're going to be associated to your firm.
Exactly.
To your main brand.
If you decide to change your name, make sure that you plan it out ahead of time. We get requests from people, hey, we're changing our name and it needs to be done tomorrow. It's not that easy. You have a lot of online properties. You're probably listed in a number of different places under the old name. This should be down the road. Should you decide to do that, that is something you want to give care to. You may want to get some advice on how to do that properly.
Okay.
And we have received a lot of very specific questions about backlink profiles. So again, if you want us to take a look at those, please go to www.fwmwebaudit.com so we can take a more in-depth look and give you a better answer than we could just off the cuff here on the phone.
Yeah, we need to go do some investigation. Okay, so once again, guys, GLM Summit registration, nationalglmsummit.com. At the summit, we've got some video. We've got our green screen that will be at the summit at the location itself. If you want to shoot videos, come on in. Schedule some videos. So if you want to find out more about that, glmvideodeal.com. And then, of course, we're doing our boot camp after the summit for your convenience. So the Sunday after the summit, we'll be there all day, dssbootcamp.com. And then, of course, the web audit. So there you go, guys. I hope that you found this information helpful. Any questions, let us know. And what else, Mike?
And you will receive a copy of the presentation as well as a recording from this entire webinar, so you can go back and see if you can answer your own questions as well.
Yeah. Okay, thanks to the SEO team for pulling this together and providing this very informative report about what people are doing out there. Okay, everyone, thanks so much. Have a great Tuesday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.